Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal edition. I'm Coach. Going to talk about the Forest game, I think, today. Apologies in advance because it's just me today. A lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. Some good personal stuff, obviously, but it just meant that, really, really busy. For myself primarily, at least. And everybody else is just kind of all over the place. Different time zones. Mitch lives in Denver, which is like, I don't know, might as well be in Jupiter. Time zone there is just weird, and obviously, I'm in London and everybody else is just scattered. So, apologies for that in that regard, that this is probably coming out a bit later than usual. And, it's not the full complement of people. But I'm here, at least. And I need you guys to drop a like, share, and subscribe. I also need you guys to leave comments and reviews on our Spotify and Apple Podcasts and shit. And, comments on YouTube is always welcome as well. And reshare the shit as well, guys. Everyone that listens, and I see the numbers, believe it or not, there's quite a few of you people, and I'm really happy about that. But if for one in every five of you slap this on your story or whatever, that would be great. So really appreciate it if you guys can do that. But yeah, let's get into it. Now that I've done begging, so really, we're talking about the Forest game, but I'm gonna do a kind of an assessment of the block of games before I get into some other stuff, which is more about the fan discussion. And I promise this is not going to be as boring as it sounds. I'll try to not make it that way. But yeah, Liverpool at home. So I think that game in isolation is absolutely fine. Now that the dust has settled and I can just kind of look at, as I do usually, look at the bigger picture. I think they're the champions. They're a wounded animal, and they weren't ever losing that game. Like, they would have died before they lost that game. And you saw in Van Dijk's post afterwards the gold badge on his sleeve. They're proud. I mean, they know they're never going to win the league this year. They know that we are, and they're taking pride in the fact they took 4 points off us. But you know what it is, they're shit. They know that we're way better than them, and they just they were trying to spoil the party basically. So that's always going to be difficult, that sort of game. And to be fair to them, they've got some good players, obviously. They're a good side. But how the game played out for me was a little bit of concern because, when people are starting to mention mention the C word, mention the champions word, and they're talking about your club kind of thing, you kind of want to put on a show and give them reason to call you, to continue calling that kind of thing. And that game for me wasn't really the one I'd use to highlight our title credentials, despite what it says on the table. And this is all within the context of the fact that City, at this point, hadn't won in the league in 3 games, if I remember correctly. Yeah, in 3 games. So in 2 games. At that point, hadn't won in the league in 2 games. So again, it wasn't the result itself wasn't disastrous. Yeah, the result itself wasn't disastrous, but I just think sometimes you want to leave on the champions if you can, and we haven't this season, so it is what it is. But I can accept it, but not a great result. If we're looking at individual performances there, outside of Saka, especially in that first half and some bits of the second half, most of the team weren't great, and we couldn't get going. It was a really poor performance in midfield. But I'm not going to drag on too long on there. It wasn't a good game. But our next game, on to Portsmouth, right? And this game was just great because, you almost use it like a palate cleanser, in a sense. You get to rotate, you get to all the pressure of the league and everything else. You can just, and that's what I was looking forward to. And I like Portsmouth as well. Obviously, they're a great club despite all their struggles of late. So it was nice, but we rotated. And this is the key part of the season for me, where you want people to be coming into real fitness, that they're optimized, you know what I mean? Like, they've got real minutes in their legs where they can go week after week after week at pretty much full tilt. So I thought it's a good time for us to get some minutes in the legs of the guys that haven't been playing every week, and given a chance to keep the other guys, what we'd call the starters, fresh. And overall, it was a good game. Martinelli got a hat-trick. Um, and Mikel Marino is fantastic. I think Ranieri showed some really good stuff as well. Really, really happy with what he produced that game. Madueke, despite the penalty miss, again always a threat. Um, and Kai Havertz came back, and I get it's a poor championship side, but football is football, and he the things that he was able to do in those, I think, 15 minutes he was on, it was good stuff, it was positive stuff. And I'm looking at that point, I'm thinking, oh, okay, Arsenal may or may not be, revving up to really to really hit the next block of games, or finish this block of games really strong and go into the next one just firing. Um, so I'm thinking 4-1, yeah, good stuff. We go to Stamford Bridge and we know their injury hit. We know it's a cup game, but the pressure's off in that regard because again, it's a cup game kind of thing. It's a semi-final, but we're clearly the better side. There's two legs. You don't have to win it there, kind of thing. But we went in relaxed and we took the lead within 7 minutes, no problem. And Gyökeres scored and got an assist that game. But my biggest concern with that was the fact that all of a sudden Raya's not playing and we don't look as good from crosses anymore. That is a little bit of a concern for me. But obviously we hope that Raya, when it really matters, obviously Raya will be fit and he'll be playing, kind of thing. But that's just something that I observed. So I was just thinking, I don't know. But again, another good game from Marino when he did come on. Odegaard again from Liverpool wasn't great. Wasn't particularly great against Chelsea. And I'm just like looking at it thinking, wow, I've defended Odegaard a lot, like a lot, and I'm still gonna continue to defend him because that's my captain. I mean, I love the guy. Um, but some of those shows, like those last couple showings prior to Forest, of course, I was like, what is actually happening here? Like, what you're not even doing the things, the fundamentals, your own fundamentals, your own sort of Odegaard fundamentals. You're not really, you know, picking up the ball and just getting it forward on a consistent basis. Do you know what I mean? You're not picking up clever positions and opening up space for Saka and the rest of them, kind of thing. You just those sorts of things aren't happening. Essentially, you're not influencing the game on or off the ball. And that was just, I'm thinking there's a concern there. But yeah, we get away with a 3-2 win against Chelsea, and I fully expect the home game. I fully expect us to just really go for Chelsea there. Try and end it as quickly as possible. Just read the fact that we've got a 1-goal lead already, but let's try and really, leave one on them for real. That's what I'm hoping for. But we'll get there when we get there. And then Forest comes around, and at this point, the bulk, I want to say, of the of the pod, or this part of the pod. Let's talk about it. So I didn't actually get to watch the game fully. I had to watch on my phone because I was at a family. I was at a family event, so I just had to watch on my phone, and it was good because I didn't watch with any commentary, which is always a plus for me. Look, Arsenal weren't good. I don't really care what the stats they with chances created and XG. They weren't good. And if we're looking at about continuation, this continuation of the Liverpool game, we just didn't create enough to think we deserved to score, to be honest, despite the Martinelli chance. But I think the problem kind of starts a little bit further than that. As far as I'm concerned, the league, no matter what, even look, Arsenal may never ever win the Champions League. God forbid. I hope we win it this year. But as far as I'm concerned, the league is always going to take precedence over every single competition, over every single one. So when we're talking about optimizing who plays when and who plays, you know what I'm saying? Like, the league should always be sort of based around, it should always be planned around what's happening in the league, basically, in and around that time. And the fact that Saka started against Chelsea, but didn't start against Forest, to me, again, alarm bells in my head. I'm thinking straight away. But what was more concerning was the fact that the composition of our attack, put it like this, I understand the thinking behind it. I really understand the thinking behind it. But that attack to me needs to have a midfield behind it or that contains both Ezra and Odegaard, as far as I'm concerned. If you're going to play those three attackers, those two need to be behind those attackers. I'm not talking about defensive structure or anything. I'm just talking about purely about that attack. That for that attack for me to work, you need to have both Ezra and Odegaard, who to me I believe are our best creators. So automatically, again, alarm bells are ringing for me. But yeah, let's just talk about their profiles individually. Madueke is a take on demon, straight up and down. I think he's generally one of the best in Europe at it. Like you just know it's a long day, and him and Barcola to me are quite similar in that regard. Even though I think if we're talking about who's better in front of goal, Barcola's probably, well, not even probably, he's definitely better in front of goal. Like he can score, despite Barcola being a very inconsistent finisher. But the level of threat that they both carry, Madueke is able to go either side of his man, and I really enjoy that about his game. The fact that he's just able to get the ball, and he goes past one player, goes past another player, and then you're hoping for something good to happen. And this is the key thing here: hope. I've mentioned hope before loads of times before about whether it's managers giving your team hope, or or players giving your team hope, kind of thing, or just hoping a player can fulfill their potential and stuff like that. I think there's a lot to love about Madueke and his game, kind of thing. But if he's going to play, then you start looking at the rest of your attack straight away. So then we look at the guy next to him, and that's Victor Gyökeres. This is not a conversation about Victor Gyökeres or his quality at all. It's just not. I'm just laying out the cold, hard facts, and I'm not going to use a lot of stats because you guys have seen all the stats, kind of thing. But stylistically and physically, Gyökeres has struggled in this Arsenal team. He struggled in the league in general. I personally think at any other club in the league, he'd probably have similar struggles, to be honest. He might fare a little bit better because teams he's going to be closer to being one of these teams' better players or best players. But the simple fact is, Gyökeres can't run away from people. He can't create separation physically or even technically, and he's not someone to create his own chance. So automatically we're kind of stuck there now. So our attack is someone that is incredible at getting past his man, but he can't really deliver a final ball or deliver a consistent final action if it comes to scoring goals as well. Then you have somebody who struggles physically and technically as well. And then you get to the last part of our attack, which is Gabriel Martinelli on the left. And he is for me, has been a phenomenal servant for Arsenal. Scored some incredibly important goals. He just got a hat-trick the other day. Do you know what I mean? But again, he's someone that is, like the other two, very much someone that likes to run in behind or run with the ball, kind of thing. But he's not going to really slow it down or try to create, kind of thing. So his best qualities and his best gifts are, running into space and running into open space. And at times he can be an inconsistent finisher, even though I do really rate his finishing, believe it or not. I think he's a really good finisher, but it can be inconsistent. So you get that attack, and you're playing against a team who, for love of money, were never ever going to play a football match yesterday. They were not interested in it. They just were not. So they weren't going to really let you run into open space to exploit those gifts that those players have. It was just never going to happen ever in a million years. And the one time that it did happen, like I said, Gyökeres simply can't run away from people, physically or technically, because technically, he should have cut across Murillo. But even if he's not going to do that technically, a faster player in that space, he's gone. He's just gone. So I'm not going to name any names, but there's very obvious names who in that position, even if they don't score, they're getting a clean shot on goal. Like Murillo's not catching them, but that's neither here nor there. So then that leads me to this next point, which I suppose I'm going to wrap up with the rotation and periodization. Why aren't the better players suited for this sort of game periodized and ready and sort of ready to go. They played in midweek in a game that it's a semi-final. Don't get me wrong, and once you have to win it, kind of thing. But did all of our best attackers have to play that game? Do you know what I mean? Did they all have to play? Did both Saka and Trossard have to play that game at the minute? You know, or why couldn't Madueke get us? Not Madueke. Why couldn't Eza get a start in this game? And that's why I'm just looking at the coach a little bit, and I'm like, I think you probably got this one wrong. Like if he could replay this one, because I think if I remember correctly, in the home fixture, it was Wanyeri, and I get we're at home, we have to take the initiative kind of thing, and there's no easy game in the Premier League, and yada yada yada, you know how it goes. But if I remember correctly, Wanyeri played that game. So did Eza on the left, and Madueke on the right, and Gyökeres up front. Now, to me, that's a perfectly balanced attack. You've got a creative play, you've got a wide playmaker essentially. You've got an outlet. You've got two outlets, but essentially one of them is an outlet to score, and the other one's an outlet to create as well. And it was fine. And then you had Manieri there as well. So I think that's a perfect that same composition of profile. Not forget the player. That same composition of profile away from home, especially with them not interested in trying to attack, for me would have worked as well. Sean Dyche teams aren't hard to work out. They just aren't. They're not going to give you time. They're not going to give you space, especially when you start approaching in and around the 35-yard, 40-yard area of their goal. From that moment onwards, it's like it's a tripwire there, and they lock in. They're like, okay, cool. Distances are correct. Half spaces, none of that. The only way you're going to get through us is if it pure individual quality or a screamer if you manufacture the space. But even then, we're not going to give you space to get off a screamer. So, or set pieces. So I'm not having a go at Arteta, but I'm very much looking at him in the sense that you knew all of this, and it's not like you didn't have any other options, kind of thing. But why didn't you? Eza hasn't played significant minutes in a while now. Eza might be carrying something, we don't know. I'm never going to speculate and say, oh yeah, why? Like, surely, but he's been on the bench for all of these games. He's been in every single one of these squads. I'm always of the opinion that if you're on the bench, you're fit enough to play. Unless like very, very, very rare occasions. But if you're on the bench, you're fit enough to play. You might only last 45 minutes, but you're still fit enough to play. So yeah, that's where our, alarm bells for me started ringing immediately from the lineup. Timber playing left back, not an issue. I think some of his best games for Arsenal, especially after the ACL, have come at left back as well. Like he's like Timber's fine. It's fine there. But everybody else in the team, I think, done their job defensively. Let me be clear, this defensively. With the ball, Arsenal yesterday were pretty shocking, to be fair. Nobody had a good game. And I suppose this is where I just kind of wrap up the Odegaard chatter. I'll just leave it at that. Odegaard was rubbish. Absolute rubbish. And when we talk about people looking for things, kind of thing, you don't have to squint really to, if you want to have a go at Odegaard, yesterday you didn't have to look hard. And that's you're making it easy for people. And now I know, don't get me wrong, it's none of his concern what people say about him. He couldn't give a monkey's. He's the captain of Arsenal, kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, but you're going to have detractors. And I think from a point of personal pride, you kind of want to shut them up, kind of thing. Now, you don't have to think about them per se, but just from a personal pride point of view, you want to be able to be like, people talk shit about me, I just shut them up every single time. That's where I'm looking at it from. Not wholly important, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's that important, but I just think players have an edge, and whatever your edge is, you need to be able to tap into that kind of thing. And if that's your thing kind of thing, then I think you should use it. He, to me, just looks completely, at this point, like he's just turning up. He's just turning up and expecting the game to go his way. So what happens when the game doesn't go his way? We get that. We get that performance. We get that performance against Liverpool as well. Now, he's more than capable. He's more than capable of... Odegaard mid-game is absolutely capable of just flicking a switch and taking over a game. Seen it many times. Seen it this season. He's capable of it. But now it's in the context of City have lost. Well, so I say City have drawn. You have a chance to go 8 points clear, and we didn't get anything from you. We get another chance. City lose. We can go 9 points clear, and we don't get anything from you again. There's so much love about Odegaard's game. So much love. Like, and let me be fair. Let me list some of the things I love about his game. I love how Odegaard can really smell the tempo of a game when he's playing well. He can really smell it. He knows when to be direct. He knows when to slow it down. He knows when to essentially take the sting out of games. But believe it or not, Odegaard knows when he can be reckless with the ball, when he can just really start spamming, through balls and whatever else, and trying to put a team under pressure. So he's got all of that. He's got all of that in his repertoire. I love his ball striking. Like when Odegaard hits a ball, it really stays hit. He's able to really work goalkeepers. But I've seen none of that. Probably since Villa, seen absolutely none of that. And it's concerning to me only because of this is now around the time of the season, especially in the position that we're in, where you really should start stripping hope from the chasing pack. Just start stripping hope from them. Just turn into a winning machine. Turn into like make people start saying, okay, should we start prioritizing other competitions because we're not catching that lot? Like they're gone. Like let's try again next season. But as far as the rest of the season, what can we win the FA Cup? How far can we win the Champions League? Whatever. Like you really want to strip complete hope away from them. Psychologically, what that does for teams that you're playing against as well. All of a sudden now, they're like, oh, Arsenal, it's winning time for Arsenal now. Oh yeah, even if they want to try their hardest, they want to sit in a dirty like low block kind of thing. They're coming at it from a inferior sort of mentality rather than we can upset Arsenal, because that's what Nottingham Forest were on. We can upset Arsenal's title chances. We can really we have to make them work for it kind of thing, rather than teams like, oh shit, we're in trouble today. Like those things, teams can have the same tactics, but the mentality is what gives you the extra 5-10% kind of thing. What team was turning up today? Is it the Forest that turned up against us at the Emirates, or is the Forest that turned up yesterday? And that depends on us, personally. I think that depends on what message and what energy that we're putting out. So, and again, a lot of that should come from the captain. I think. I don't think it's unfair to think that should come from the captain. Now, it's not wholly all on him, but he's the captain. He sets the tone for us on and off the ball, and we haven't seen enough of it from him in the last couple of games. Prior to that, I think Odegaard was pretty fantastic, to be honest. So yeah, I'll leave it at that in regards to Odegaard. But overall, I'm not worried about Arsenal in general, but specifically we're talking units. I'm not worried about our defense. I know if Arsenal really want to close the shop, that's it. You're not getting in. Like we were open again tomorrow 9 a.m, but we're closed tonight. You're done, kind of thing. But the attack. Now I know Arsenal. The numbers will say that Arsenal have the fourth or fifth or best attack cumulatively over the last 3 years or whatever, 2-3 years. I personally think that is just from the eye test. I think it's just not accurate. I think we're closer to having one of the best, if not the best attacking in the league when we get going. And one of the reasons why I say that is because anybody can score. Anybody can score. And I think that's a sign of good attack, where you have your usual suspects, your Trossards, your Sakas kind of thing, even Declan Rice. But a good attack to me means that from any situation, anybody can nick a goal. And I'm not talking about set pieces here. I'm just talking about purely from open play. What I struggle with, and what I struggle with contextualizing, is why so many times consistently Arsenal can't sustain meaningful pressure. Now, I mean that in a sense, consistently getting shots, good quality shots off. That's what I mean. Arsenal are going to dominate everyone they play against. That's even if it's not for the whole 90 minutes. Arsenal will have a good spell of 30 minutes in a game where we can absolutely strip away everything. We can batter you and end the game, kind of thing. Against most teams in the league, it's pretty much the whole 90 minutes where we're just completely on top of you. But a lot of those games to me feel at times, not all the time, it can be quite sterile. And a set piece can open it up, and then where we really start moving and grooving, we really start going. But yesterday was a game that I'd seen before sometimes at Arsenal. Despite the 2xG that I'm hearing that we had, I couldn't give a monkeys about that. I'm sure most of that surely came from the Martinelli chance, I think. But that game yesterday has happened before. I'm not talking about the season before. I'm talking about this season. That game before has happened before. Now, sometimes we've gotten away with it. For example, Wolves at home. We found a way we found a way. We kept going, and we could take all the positives from there, kind of thing. But it worries me in a sense. Not that it's going to be detrimental to our title chances, but it just worries me that teams know that if they just essentially give up on playing football, kind of thing, they can stop us from scoring. That is a little bit worrying, and I know that's what the set pieces are there for. But if teams are continuing happy to concede set pieces towards us, that again has an effect on us and how we want to play. Subconsciously, we might just start thinking, let's just. I'm not saying. I think it's personally impossible for us to play, for anybody to play for set pieces. I really do. It's impossible. But subconsciously, we might just start thinking, oh, we'll just keep plugging away. Oh, doesn't matter. We'll get a corner. We'll get a free kick, kind of thing. Rather than, no, let's push the button. Let's take more risks. Let's do something. Now I know football isn't as simple, and football's a simple sport, but it's not as simple as just that. But that does concern me that we saw this game before already this season, and teams essentially suspending all sorts of hope and they're saying we're going to stop Arsenal scoring today. We don't care if we get another shot this game. Simple fact is Arsenal must not score today, and if teams know that they can stop scoring that way, then that is concerning. What you want as champions is you want to be able to teams to go in thinking, oh, let's try and keep it to 3 today, rather than we can actually nick a draw today. If we're lucky, we can nick a draw today. Something for me has to change there, and this is probably the fan in me talking rather than, you know, an objective Arsenal fan, if there is such thing as one. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there in regards to the game. I suppose the recent games and yesterday. I want to talk about Arsenal fans, and if you've been listening to this long enough, you know how I feel about Arsenal fans in general. Not you, lovely Arsenal fans that listen to this, but everybody else, basically. Arsenal fans are idiots, emotional, entitled, short-sighted. They lack any sort of critical thinking or even thinking contextually. It's just very much give me this now or I don't want it. 5 minutes later, it's no good to me. Then it's useless, kind of thing. Give it to me now. Give it to me this way, specifically in this manner, or it's not good enough. And it's pathetic. Let me just be clear. It's pathetic because part of being a fan is having hope. And I don't think Arsenal fans want or care about hope. They want certainty, which to me is boring and shit. You want certainty in a sport that, number one, you have no control over, but also it's very, it's a fickle and what's the word looking for? It's a fickle and oh my gosh, this is what happens when you don't have somebody there to bounce ideas off. But it's fickle and futile. That's what I'm looking for. Yes. So that's one thing there. It's ridiculous to invest that level of emotion into something you don't control. But I tell you what doesn't help, when you have the media class stoking the flames of a fan base who are expectant, have every right to be expectant, and they're saying things that lack context, that are there to destabilize, that are there to rile you up, kind of thing. And it starts becoming part of the bigger sort of narrative and lexicon of bottlers now is something that's associated with Arsenal. When if we're talking about bottling a title, in all of Arteta's sort of title challenges, contextually, Arsenal haven't bottled any title. They just haven't. quite literally have not bottled any title, but it's become such an accepted sort of narrative that Arsenal fans themselves are now have bought into it, and now they're allowing that to dictate how they assess the team. There's so many like sound bites and so many articles out there that have been put out about Arsenal that are just really, when you read them, when you read the words, and then you look at the timing of when they've been put out, especially as well, and then what they're addressing, they're just hit pieces, plain and simple. They're just hit pieces, and They're not serving. They're not there to inform. They're not there to. They're not there to ask valid questions. They're simply there to to create a narrative and to sow doubt and sow all these things in the fan base. But also they're trying to get through to the team. They're trying to get through to the players. It's very obvious. It's very, very, very obvious. And I really love this about this team, that they've essentially shut out the noise. But it's still very annoying, every week seeing a new idiot, whether it's in the actual media class or the fan media class, trying to create a new narrative around Arsenal. It's if you're here long enough, you start to see the patterns of this, and you're just like, oh, okay, this is just ridiculous. There's no actual there's nothing here other than just trying to essentially make you miserable. And that affects how you assess the team. People don't want to admit it, but that affects how you assess the team. And if you're not able to keep your emotions in check, number one, but also look at things clearly with a objective mind, that's going to affect how you assess the team. And how you assess the team now turns into how you feel about the team and the feelings you project about the team. So I'll just ask a couple of questions here, open questions. Obviously, I will answer some of them myself, but I think how often do you interrogate your method of analysis and how you consume the sport, but also consume media around it? What is your intention? So if you read an article about Arsenal, why are you reading it? Are you reading it because you have the intention of learning something from it, or are you reading it from the intention to confirm, prior biases, whether they're good or bad biases? What is your intention for it, kind of thing? Again, how often do you critique your own sort of methods of looking at the team? And the reason why I ask that is because if you're not doing that, then you can't really say that you're looking at Arsenal from the you're giving yourself the best chance to look at Arsenal in the most honest and open way. Do you know what I mean? Personally, for me, I consistently look at how many times the ways that I assess the team and I assess the manager, stuff like that, because things happen really fast in football, which again is a different subject altogether. But also the fact that if you want to arrive at a conclusion about anything, you have to first kind of make sure that you're doing you're using the right methods, or you're doing objectively good sort of groundwork on it. And when I look at I consume a lot of Arsenal shit, obviously. When I look at a lot of these, media personalities and analysts and stuff like that, a lot of these people are just there to start conversations that don't really carry any value. They're doing it for clicks primarily. Now, I'm not going to call out anyone because I couldn't give a monkey. I'm not going to start calling out anyone, because get your coin in it, whatever, that's whatever. But you cannot allow those sorts of frivolous claims and articles to consistently bleed into how you assess and look at the team. I'll give one example. There's this civil war between Ezra and Odegaard. Apparently, this happened. Today's like the first time I'd actually heard of it, but apparently people are talking about Arsenal haven't been as good since Odegaard came into the team, and I can't get behind that because it's just not true, basically. So that one dies straight away at the door for me. I'm not even going to bother entertaining it. But if I was to entertain it, I'd look at it from this perspective. Since Odegaard has got back into the team, Arsenal's lead at the top has extended. If I wanted to get more granular with it, Arsenal have responded to Man City going on top of Arsenal twice, right? After they played before us over the Christmas period, they went on top of us twice, and then Arsenal then decided to extend their lead when they played after City. Now, I guess the last two games obviously have been is what is, but again, even yesterday we extended our lead over them despite it only being a draw. So again, what is the purpose of people even bringing that up? Whether you're an Arsenal fan or not, because there's Arsenal fans who, to my mind, I genuinely believe care more about being right than the Arsenal team actually being successful. But again, sorry for another day. But again, what is the purpose of that that comparison there? You know, because I'm of the opinion that I think Arsenal probably play better with both. Well, not probably. I think I'm 100% certain Arsenal play better with both players on the pitch at the same time. Anyway, but again, what purpose is there other than to sow division? Do you know what I mean? There's no, and even if you wanted to do it in a objective way, kind of thing, why not look at it from a perspective of, oh, okay, Odegaard has these qualities, Eze has these qualities, kind of thing. What can Arsenal use more at the time, kind of thing, of the season? Because again, seasons don't just happen in one straight line, kind of thing. At this point, they're gonna go like this, like that, kind of thing. And you'll need certain qualities for certain matches, certain periods, kind of thing. So again, but it's all in bad faith. There's no real purpose of that other than to, again, sow seeds and whatever, blah blah blah. Which leads me on to my final point: allowing rival fans to dictate your happiness and dictate how you view the team. So there's so many agendas about Arsenal, so many, and one that really piqued my interest was Saka. Right, I saw someone link their own tweet to 2023, by the way, saying, "Oh, it's time to have a conversation about Saka," and it made me laugh so much because, quite literally, the season after, Saka dropped 34 goals and assists. But they linked that tweet literally 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was like, this is not in good faith. This is just a bad faith argument in general. Let me just be really blunt when I say this. Saka has carried this club. Whether you want to admit or not, Saka has carried this club. He has. Bottom line. And the club finally getting some help. Not just in the form of Madueke, but just supplementing the other areas of the pitch. Where Saka not playing particularly well isn't disastrous for us. Where once upon a time it was. Saka having an quote-unquote off-season, despite having ridiculously high creative numbers, you know, the assists aren't showing, but we watch the games, we know what he's about. Saka having an off-season, again, I put in quotes, isn't the end of the world for me. Couldn't give a monkeys. As far as Saka's paid his dues. So when we eventually lift the title, kind of thing, if Saka walks away with the season with having some of his poorest stats in 3-4 years, couldn't give a monkeys. Again, but why does that matter to you as a fan? Why does that upset you? It shouldn't. Football's a team game. Football's a team game. So when people bring that up kind of thing, who cares? Who actually cares? And we know Saka's a top player. We know he's a top player. England are not winning this World Cup without Saka. Like, if England want to win a World Cup, Saka has to be there. It's that simple. Allowing rival fans, opinions and bad faith arguments and agendas to start seeping into your own analysis, seeping into your own way, how you view the team, kind of thing, you're never going to be happy. Like, I don't even know if you guys know this, but newsflash, rival fans are supposed to upset you. They're supposed to make you feel shit about your team. And guess what? Even when your team is doing good, that's when they turn up the heat more. That's when because they can't stand seeing you happy. This doesn't only apply to Arsenal fans, even though right now we feel like we're probably not number one. But they're supposed to make you feel shit about your team. They're supposed to. So finding ways to devalue what the team is doing is their job. Is their job. You cannot take it seriously. You cannot allow it to seep into anything that you want to do when you look at your own team objectively. And there's plenty of stuff to look about Arsenal in objectively that doesn't particularly fill you with joy at the minute. You don't need rival fans to lump in with bad faith arguments that hold no weight, that make no sense, because then they become talking points, and they're shit arguments. You can't even, a lot of this stuff doesn't even hold up at all. It's just really rubbish arguments in general. So if you're allowing it to consistently dominate the conversations that you're having, kind of thing, and it's born out of rival fans talking shit or bad faith arguments from the media, kind of thing, where does that leave you as a fan? Where's the space for you as a fan to enjoy your team, to enjoy what they're doing? There is a huge amount of Arsenal fans, that have never seen their team win the league, and you're going to allow rival fans and media and the media class to take away the enjoyment of this season because Arsenal didn't go 8 points clear when they could have. Arsenal didn't go 9 points clear when they could have. But guess what? Arsenal 7 points clear. It blows my mind that people are so are leaving this weekend ridiculously upset. Like that people are upset, guys. They're really, really upset, and it blows my mind. And they've been people. I know for there's Arsenal fans that have not enjoyed this season so far. They just have not enjoyed the season. So this is going to be a lot of Arsenal fans' first, like I said, their first title, and their memory of this first title is going to be the fact they spent most of the season not enjoying it. Do you know how sad that is? Do you know how sad that is? Like, I've been watching Arsenal again my entire life. All of our Premier League titles, I have seen all of them. I remember all of them. All the niche things about those individual seasons, I remember all. I've seen it all, kind of thing. And you guys would not be able to survive some of those title runs. You just wouldn't be able to survive it at all. I've got something I plan to do soon, I hope. But in particular, in the 01-02 season, there's a period of the season where United are 5th, Arsenal are 1st, and 3 game weeks later, Arsenal are 2nd, United are 1st. If that happened in 2026, what do you think? And by the way, that Arsenal team had title winners in it already, right? They had title winners in it already, and they had flipping Thierry Henry in it. How do you think this current Arsenal sort of fan base would deal with something like that? Like, could you imagine? The expectations are already high because these guys already won already. But then you look at this Arsenal team here and what they've produced in this first quarter, sort of, just over half the season at this point, and there's a meltdown. People are not happy. They are fuming. So, yeah. I think it's a good time for people to look inwardly about how they really want to support this team and really interrogate themselves. Because surely you can't let this be your the first title that you're witnessing. Even if you have seen it all, like, you can't let this be the first title you're witnessing in 22 years and let this be how you welcome it in. You just can't. You literally just can't. Like, and again, this is not me trying to police anyone. Do what makes you happy. But I know human nature. People live with regret all the time. I have regrets as well. Like, you seriously cannot go through a season like this and find more time to be upset and split hairs over stuff that really don't really matter, to be honest. But yeah, I've been coached, guys. You've got 45 minutes out of me talking to myself. Well, talking to you guys, but talking by myself. And I'm quite proud of that. So yeah, remember to like, share, subscribe, and share this everywhere, and comment and talk to me. I'd love to have a conversation with some of you guys about this sort of thing, especially people that haven't been watching Arsenal as long as I am. I'm curious to know how you consume and analyze this stuff, because some of the stuff I see, and again, believe it or not, I spend a lot of time on Twitter not talking about, well, not interacting with Arsenal related media stuff. I can't. I can't because 9.5 times out of 10 it's slop and it's in bad faith. So yeah. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Love to talk to you guys more about this. But I've been Coach. Take it easy, guys. Peace.